All right. Well, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to Covenant Therapy Marriage Ministry. I'm Janine.
I'm Teray.
And today we're going to talk about differences. The reason why we're talking about differences is because we are very different people.
Very different.
Not just the way we look. We are very different people. And it caused a lot of trouble for us, and we learned to overcome it because God is so awesome. And we would love to have that conversation with you and to share with you how we did some of that.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And of course, there are a lot of, relationships out there where you say we're two totally different people. The same of too much of anything gets kind of boring.
Yeah, it's out of balance
that
at that
old
point.
thing about opposites attract, and all of that stuff, that's true. But the thing about opposites attracting is you got to know how to work together. Being two totally different people. And I think every relationship may not necessarily be as opposite as we were, and there's still things that we still have.
Extremely opposite.
But you're going to have differences because you're two different people anyway.
That's right. You came from different experiences that led to where you are today. Mm.
It's just that ours were so grand.
Like the East from the West.
Yeah, very, very, very different. Very different.
We used to say, I used to say, I bet if I say black, you're going to say white just because we're so different.
Just because, and a lot of that was true. We were just too. So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about the differences that we have, some of the major ones, and then what we did to actually try to work through.
So I think that we didn't realize how different we were when we got married. I think we sort of thought we weren't that different.
That's what we thought.
And then as we went on, we found out, we were so different.
Well, you take that back to like the last podcast. You need to go back and watch that.
Go back and watch
it. Is that, one of the major things that happened, is we were, allowed to that was because we still like to do the same things as far as hanging out, and clubbing, things of that nature. But once you got saved, and made that miraculous change, is when her perspective on a lot of the things that we used to do changed.
Yeah, what used to be fun
wasn't fun anymore.
Not fun anymore.
So that created some of that, where we had struggles about, the way we felt about things and the way we were doing things and the way we did things. And having to struggle to try to work through that from somebody who had gained this great relationship and this newfound life, with Christ, versus somebody who had a knowing, of God, but really wasn't trying to live up to that potential because of still trying to, hang out there and being out there with friends and associates and, living my life as a people person because I was, not necessarily life of the party, but somebody who could definitely socialize at a high level.
Definitely. Well, I think even that is a good example. So even like before, I had that transformational experience. When we would go to parties, you're like the life of the party, and I'm sort of sitting in the corner minding my business, like only talking to somebody if they talk to me, or because I didn't know everybody like you knew everybody. You walk in, everybody's like, G-Way. Everybody's
told my name.
Oh, well,
that's your name.
That's your name.
You have an old name.
It's not somebody else's name.
But that was true though, because you would have one good friend.
I always was like that. I did not spread my friendship around. I had one or two good friends, and I was good. I didn't need more. That's the truth.
I like to know somebody everywhere I went. And that was some of the issue that we had, because everywhere we go, somebody would be saying hi, male or female. Of course, the dudes was like cool. It was like, yeah, dog, who's that? But that a female say something to me, it's, who's she?
Oh, and that was putting it nicely.
That was putting it nicely. I used to get into it all the time with, did you sleep with her too? Who is she?
Yeah.
What did you do with her? I'm like, hey, nothing. I just know her. Just know people. You know what I'm saying? Everything wasn't about that. You know what I mean? But, so that was something that was different because I was a very social person. Mm-hmm. And not in a bad way. I was just very social.
Very social. Mm-hmm.
Was one of those people that could go virtually anywhere and strike up conversations with virtually anybody.
Yeah.
And just know
I agree
people.
With that.
But
back then, that was a problem for us.
She was the person that was like, she would go to she would just sit there.
I mean, I was nice. I was friendly. I bobbed my head to the music. You know, it's all good. But
She wasn't socialized though. She just sit there.
nope, sit there and look cute.
And then I feel like I had to keep coming back, to check on her. Is you good? Is anything? And then I feel bad because she's sitting there while I'm off, bouncing from conversation to conversation to conversation. Then making my rounds, and then have to come back and be like, yeah, you okay, babe? You okay? Nope, I'm ready to go. What you mean you ready to go? It ain't even over yet. We ain't got started.
True story.
So then we had arguments because of something like that.
Yeah.
A couple of those incidents.
Yeah.
So
that's just one example. I mean, in our first episode, we talked about our different backgrounds. So we have a whole bunch of different experiences that make up who we were at that time, and so we just had a different opinion on things because of our different backgrounds and experience, our different baggages. I think even, our marital expectations. Like, I came in thinking we were going to do everything together, and you didn't have that.
I don't know.
You had other expectations, but that wasn't one of them.
No. Just like any other young person that didn't have a real foundation on what marriage was really supposed to be. Like my wife was, going to be my friend, and things of that nature.
But not his only friend.
Yeah, definitely not the only friend. So it was fine, to be able to get off work, and then come home.
Yeah.
But it became a rule. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
you came straight home.
You wanted to take a nap, and I didn't take naps. I had too much energy.
But I didn't want him going out enjoying life while I was taking my nap, so
Right. So it was come home, and take a nap. Well, she was still taking a nap. I would just be sitting there twiddling my thumbs,
Yeah, because you didn't have a smartphone. You wasn't
no smartphone.
You wasn't surfing Facebook.
None of that. None of that.
Yeah.
But that turned into a different issue, which we'll be able to address a little bit later on. But the thing was that was just another difference. I was not that kind of person to take naps. I don't.
He still don't take
taking naps from like elementary school.
Dude, he's gonna be like 100 and still not taking naps.
And take a nap.
I'll be up to like 3 by that point.
I just try to take a nap now, and that messed my life up. I can't take a nap. You know what I mean? Just don't do it.
It'll screw his whole day up. Yeah. So the way we process information.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I feel terrible. But sometimes like it takes a minute for him to get to the point.
It does.
And it's all I can do not to complete the sentence for him because I've already got there, ran around the block, and...
But sometimes you're trying to complete the sentence and
And it's wrong.
And it's wrong. Yeah.
That's true. That is so true. That's true. But...
So
we process differently.
We do process differently. It takes me a little bit longer because the way that I'm thinking is trying to cover everything.
Right. Not that he's slow. He's considering everything. Yeah.
Yeah. All things into consideration with whatever it is, that we're discussing, but I know that would bother her because she'd be like, snap, 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 snap.
And I'm sure, sadly, it's all over my face.
Oh, yeah. She remember in the beginning in the trailer, she makes the faces.
Make the faces.
And them faces say a lot.
Mm-hmm. They speak volumes.
They got to come out of her mouth. There's a song a long, long time ago. It says, written all over your face. You don't have to say a word.
Wait. Let me add to that. So, me and my daughter, I was taking her. She's 21, just FYI. But I went to the doctor's appointment with her, and we were trying to find. We went in one parking garage, which took us in a different entrance. So we're asking, okay, how do we get to this doctor's office? This building in the hospital, and they were like, oh, you got to go around, do this, da, 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 da. I'm directionally challenged, so I'm wearing a mask, mind you, and my forehead and my eyebrows and my eyes were speaking volumes, so much so I didn't realize it, but I was really just trying to process what they were telling me so I could try to retain it. But I guess I was saying stuff with my forehead because another lady walked over and was like, I'll just walk them there. And on our walk to the elevator, she was like, I saw it all over your face. Mm-hmm. She was like, they were just going to keep going, and you were going to end up in a whole different state. I was dying. I was like, wow, can you imagine if I wasn't wearing a mask?
Be like that.
The
faces, they speak volumes.
They do. Mm-hmm. They be screaming sometimes.
So we've mentioned our different backgrounds, our some of our marital expectations. We'll get deeper into the expectations.
One day.
Yeah, one day. Basically, extrovert, introvert.
Yeah.
And then how we process, information. And that also leads us into the way we think about different situations. You know, we do have two different perspectives. Now, mind you, we're bringing these differences up because at some point they cause problems in our marriage.
Yeah, a lot.
You know, when we didn't know how to work well together because of these differences. And so the way we process, the way we think about situations was another one of those things that was like totally different.
That's true.
She's coming at it from her angle and her experience and her knowledge base. You know, from what she's got, I'm coming at it from a totally different knowledge base and, you know, an experience, you know, and it's like a clash, you know.
I sort of like think about like, what is it, like a 3-legged race, like where like the two of you like tie your legs together.
Yeah.
Dude, if we tried to do that, we would like fall and bust our face because we just weren't coordinated in our marriage efforts. And I think that that's what we've learned to do is we've really learned how to win a 3-legged race called our marriage.
Right. Yeah. So we're able to run better now.
Oh yeah.
As before, we just would have argued. It was just been an argument.
Right, because we'd have stumbled and we'd have blamed each other.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Well, usually me blaming you, but you know what I'm saying. You'd have just held it in. You'd have thought it. You just wouldn't have said it.
I probably would have.
I would have said it.
You know, you would have. You're very vocal.
Yeah.
You know, and then so we rarely would look at things the same way. For all of those same reasons, because of our different background, experience, thought process, you know, how we were brought up, you know, just perception, you know, knowledge. How much information do you have about this compared to how much information? So then it almost turns into a who's right, who's wrong sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, and that was just something else that was big, you know, for us, because I would think that you thought you were always right about everything that came out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Because everything I said had to be fact checked. You know,
that
everything
used to drive
had to be
crazy.
fact checked.
Oh my gosh!
Like I would tell you something, and you would.
I have to ask like 2 or 3
witnesses.
witnesses.
First of all, you make a face.
Aww.
And then you go talk to we would get somewhere else, and then you would ask 2 or 3 different people the same thing that you asked me. And it's like, oh, no, it's not that I just don't believe you. I just need to make sure the information is correct. You know, I'm thinking.
But I am sort of fact-based, though. I don't believe anybody first time out. That is for real. That's a reality for me.
That's true. But not understanding that,
yeah,
you know, back then
that
was okay, so you just don't trust nothing I got to say, so we got a problem.
You thought it was you when it really wasn't.
We just got a problem. You just like, everything I say, you got to go ask 5, 6. And I can tell you, okay, you're my wife. Well, hold on. I'm going to go check with somebody else, you know, to make sure that we married. You know what I mean? You know, did we actually do this or not? Do you know? Can you tell me? Because he said we married, but I just want to make sure, you know. And it was just like, why you always watermelon have seeds? I don't think they do have seeds. You know, I need to go ask somebody. Let's go to the store, get a watermelon, cut it in half, and make sure it got seeds in it.
That's right. Yeah.
It was bad, man.
Bad.
To me, it was bad because I didn't get it.
Bad to him.
I didn't understand.
I was quite content.
And then she make a face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a face even when I don't mean to make a face.
And then
it's what I do.
And then, you know, and then one of the other big issues that we had, and we've really been able to work on this a lot more recently, you know, is that you're more of a planner, you know, and I'm more of a doer.
Yes.
You know, and so it was hard trying to work together because while I get it, you know, but sometimes like her planning phase extended the length of my waiting to get started phase. You know, like, so I'm ready to, I'll jump into something sometimes. I've thought about it. I might do a little bit of research, but I need to jump in it so I can start putting my hands on it and doing it, and I'll figure it out. You know, that's what I think. I'll figure it out as I go, you know.
And I don't operate like that.
She doesn't. And some of the issue that we would have, too, would be because I'm already in it. You know, I'm working. I might get frustrated because I find a spot. I'm like, dang, you know, you know, can't get. And then she'll come along. Why ain't you do this? Why ain't you do that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And make a face. You know, and then it's like, I'm frustrated. You know, look, you should have been here with me while I was working. You know what I'm saying? Then we could have worked on this together. And she's like, basically, you should have waited before you got into all of this mess. And now you had to take it all apart or whatever it is and do it all over again because you was moving too fast.
But there was some truth to that. So it wasn't all like, oh, I just held the works up.
There was.
Some of that is true, but that's not the whole story.
Yeah.
You was jumping.
I was jumping.
You would, what is it called? Leap before you looked. You didn't look, you just
Sometimes
leaped.
I would put the cart before the horse.
Yep.
But then I would bring the horse around the front eventually.
Eventually.
You know.
Yes. So, but that was definitely a problem for us.
Big time.
That sort of sounded like it's still a problem, but it's not.
It's not. You know. And that's just because in the experience of time and learning how to one of the other big things about all of this, and I'll just tell on myself, you know, and it's not anything that anybody that hasn't been to our marriage events doesn't know.
Yeah, we're pretty open generally.
You know, was that the enemy in my thoughts, you know, would always tell me, you know, she's not the right one for you. You know, because you're so different.
Yep.
Like, we're supposed to be a little bit more compatible. You know, but there was, and here's like, this is what the enemy does. We'll put in, you know, some truth, you know, but then also adding the lie. Because when we got married, you know, we both said we're this kind of person, we're that kind of person, we're this kind of person, we're that kind of person. And through the process of time, you know, and really deciding that we were going to work on our marriage, you know, the issues that I held on to forever, you know, was you told me you were this kind of person. You know, that you was this and you was this and you was this and you was this, you know, but after we got married, that person wasn't there.
Yeah, it didn't pan out like that.
And it always, it was like a hurt that I could never get over.
Yeah. You carried that one for
so that record just played over and over. And every time there was an issue, she ain't the one. She ain't the one. She ain't the one. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about my adultery and my attitude and my things of that nature, is a lot of that was because of the issues that we were having, and that record just playing over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And she ain't the one. You done married the wrong. You know, even so much that when we went to church, the church that we were going to, should I say the name of the church?
You can.
It was called Christ Life Sanctuary, and in the city of
Kettering,
you know, up here. And there was a guest speaker, you know, from Australia. Jim McCord.
Yes.
Was his name, Jim McCord. You know, and it was prayer line. I'm not going to get the whole story, but it was prayer line time. And he came up, you know, and he was praying and prophesying, you know, over people. And so he stood right in front of me, and he looked at me. And then he took like 2 steps back. And then he addressed, you know, basically the whole congregation, I guess to not embarrass me, but you already did because you stepped in front of me first, you know, and then said something to everybody else. So basically he still like put it on me. But he backed up and was basically saying, don't ever let the enemy tell you that that you married the wrong person. You know, and he went into a little bit more detail about, you know, what God was saying to him, but he was really talking to me.
He was.
Because that was something, like I just told you, that I used to all the time, you know, in my head, all the time. You know, and so basically that was God telling me that stop listening to the lie.
Yep.
Stop listening to the lie. And, you know, at first, you know, because it was like he busted my bubble. You know, and then the people that we had been going through marriage counseling with through the church, you know, were sitting there. So by the time we got back to our seat, you know, the man said, guess he read your mail, didn't he? And I already had an attitude because I got busted out in front of the whole church. You know, that's the way it felt to me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't meant to be a bad thing. It was meant to be a confirmation for me to know that God has heard me and heard my complaints, and he was rescuing me from that torment. You know, but when you in that attitude, you don't feel it that way. You know what I mean? So, but get back to the seat, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm stewing in my own mess while her and the marriage counseling buddies, you know, were sitting there having a good old time at my expense.
Well, so it's always good, let me just say, when other people don't know your business. We had never met him before.
Never.
Nobody else in the church knew that was a holdup for Teray. just me, Teray, and the two people that were counseling us. And so that's what was such a big deal. Not like because it busted Teray out, but it was mainly like, clearly that was a revelation from God, because that guy don't know you.
Right.
Why would he stop in front of you and say that?
I
He
don't
doesn't
know,
know
but he
your
did.
problems. So, but that's what it was just quite the revelation.
Right.
And so I thought,
Yeah.
that's good.
And even though that happened, they still had to fight that. So you still had to fight those thoughts, because we were still having, different issues.
We were still going through counseling.
Going through a whole bunch of, things. Things have gotten better, but it's just every
Right.
time, things would happen, it would go back to that, to that, in the beginning, of our relationship, and discovering that you weren't the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't the person that you said you were, when we got married, and that was just, that was a big thing. So every difference that we had was
Just
like
compounded on top.
Yeah, just build up, build up.
Well, I think that's a good sort of segue into some of the things that God showed us in order to work through some of those issues. So, as an example, some of these things were revelation. Like, we'll look at the expectations. So, or false expectations, essentially, in some cases. So for me, when I said, this is the kind of wife that I am or will be, that's really who I wanted to be.
Right.
So I wasn't lying. I just wasn't that person yet.
Right.
I really wanted to be that person. That's who I thought I could be. I really all intention to be that person, but I couldn't live up to it. But I think when we had those kinds of conversations where we made a safe space to be vulnerable with each other, and we had some of those conversations of, this is why I'm jealous. This is why I feel like I need to control the situation. This is why, I'm this way. Or we used to say all the time is like, think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah, still teach that. We still teach that. Mm-hmm.
Why did I just snap about that? Why did I just get angry about that? Why did that bother me when you did that? And then again, keeping a safe space to have conversations, because when you expose stuff like that to the light, the enemy can't play in that area anymore.
Right.
So when that came to the light and we were able to really talk about that, the enemy can't use that against us anymore, because now it's out in the open. And so, that goes along with understanding how each other processes, just learning each other better, and then learning that it's not a bad thing. Okay, cool. We process differently. I got to be more patient. You have to speed up a little bit. But the idea is we're working that out together.
Yeah. Or even in the speeding up, even if it's not so much a hurry up and process any faster, but communicate. Communicate. Okay, let me have a second. I'm thinking about this, or this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about it this way. And then we're actually having open dialogue about whatever it is, because that's what we've been doing is, me having to open up, so yes, she understands that I process differently, and I understand that she's, her thought process are, a mile a minute. But if I can stop, and just open up, and talk, then we're actually talking through both of our points, and able to come to a combined resolution, and how we're going to attack whatever it is that we need to attack or agree on, or whatever it is that we're working on. So it's still that combination of what do we both have to do here in order for this to work.
Well, I even was thinking about how. Okay, so I just lost my train of thought. I'm not even gonna lie, just gone. It's gone.
We're gonna find it. And
we are going to find it. It'll come back. I promise.
It will.
Go ahead. We'll
and the other thing that, that we have also, been working on outside of communication, which is communication is key to everything, but like she said earlier, is creating a safe place for communication. We have to, we've gotten past you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, who's right, who's wrong.
That's what I was going to say.
But now coming to a place where we can both take, those differences or those different opinions and ideas and come together and have that safe place, to have those conversations, even those hard conversations.
Yeah, that's...
And be able to discuss things. And it's not a blame. It's not a, you don't never listen to me, you always think you're right all the time. We've gotten past all of that because we've learned how to communicate effectively. Did I take your point?
Nope, it's gone again.
It's gone. Gee.
Yeah.
So really that means I'm talking too much.
No. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, I think where I was going to go is just along the lines of leveraging, sort of the best of both. It's not right or not wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's just leveraging the both. Like as an example. So we used to argue the same point and learning to really communicate. Learning to communicate that as far as, okay, we'll be arguing the same point, essentially agreeing about the same thing, but sort of arguing it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
again, that tells you how different we were, right? We can't even come to the same conclusion. That's the same conclusion. But so I think that was something is that we realized is like, okay, slow down. We're actually saying the same thing.
We're just saying it differently.
We just had to pull back and look at it. So, that was my point.
It's been a wonderful.
Yay! Where's the poppers? We need to set the poppers off.
I need to have a little sound thing, a little horn.
You need a soundboard. That's right. You need a soundboard.
And that was always, one of the, the journeys in our relationship is working through the differences that we have. Yeah. And so it's almost like creating, and we've both done this, but even in personal development, when I'm working with people with personal development, is to create a SWOT analysis. Mm-hmm. Yes, we can use it in business, but you also to use it, for yourself and personal life, and even in your marriage, create strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Mm-hmm. Sit down and actually go through that, when you're having those challenges and see what the challenges are, and once you've, like she said, expose them, don't hide behind them and let the enemy, in your thoughts, continue to provoke you to do things you shouldn't do, say things you shouldn't say, expose them. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Expose it. Yeah. And then you guys can attack it, together. And that can go for a lot of, even your marriage expectations, any dreams that you have for your marriage, for growth, for jobs, when you're planning your life
career planning,
career, all
family
of that
planning,
stuff. And it sounds like, something stupid to do because people have those types of conversations all the time. Mm-hmm. I want to do this or this is what I want to do. Okay, so think forward. What's going to be the strengths that we can use to get there? What are the opportunities?
Yeah, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
What are the threats so that we can see them and expose them in advance so that we can continue to communicate and work together to reach that common goal? Mm-hmm. So,
that's good.
I mean, and we've had some serious talks, over the past, 28 years that we've been married. Mm-hmm. And it took all of that communication to even get us to the point where a lot of that stuff doesn't bother us anymore because now, we're able to look at things and say, okay, I know you're that way. I'm this way. Let's not do things separately. Yeah. Pull ourselves together, and figure out how we can do it and make it work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just even with the podcast, it's a good example. Like I'm the planner, you're the doer. So I'm planning out what we're going to talk about. We work it together, but I sort of do the planning piece of that, and then you do a lot of the doing piece of that. But again, that's using our strengths, for God's glory, really.
Right.
Everything we do, and I think we're seeing it more and more. It's becoming much more clear. Mm-hmm. You never reach that moment where it's like, oh, I've arrived. You never reach that. So we're always learning. We're always growing. There's always new opportunities to know each other better. I think it's kind of funny because there for a minute we sort of flip-flopped. Mm-hmm. But I think, so I'm just going to say, the reason I think that we did some of the flip-flopping is because you pulled certain things out of me and I pulled certain things out of you. Yes, so we're sort of reaching more of like a balance instead of such extremes. We're getting to a place where we're a little bit more balanced. Yeah. So I'm glad because I feel like I was never very social. I actually was a super shy kid. And, but I feel like, because of being married to you and some of the different things that God is doing in my life, that I've become very outgoing. I mean, even in my job, when I say that I used to be shy, people are like, what, you? Yeah, for real. Super shy. When I would present information at my job, I would almost pass out from fear. I had to do it. It was my job. I wasn't going to get fired, but I mean, I would get off of those meetings and I would be like shaking. I would have to go into huddle rooms and pray before I would go into meetings, things like that. But I get compliments all the time that I'm such a good presenter, which sort of cracks me up because I know where I came from.
Yeah.
But, you know, God is good. And
Yep.
he gave me an amazing, strong husband who sort of rubbed off on me.
Yep, because you can put me anywhere. I get up in front of anybody. I ain't care.
He does not care.
I would
Not
just-
a lick. He
I'd
does
just
not
go.
care.
I would just go, wing it, say what needed to be said, but just did want to make sure I had the information that I needed to have. But, other than that, it was all good. So those are just some of the things that were major to us, that we did have to work through. And some of them we're still in the process of really nailing all those things down. But it's putting things into practice. You can't, it's good to know it, but then you've got to actually apply
walk
it.
that out.
You don't be just hearers, and not be doers.
That's right.
So you've got the information, now put it into practice so that it can be effective for you and for your life.
Yeah,
Good?
I believe so.
All right.
All right. So, in conclusion,
Yes.
if you and your spouse, or if you're just dating, your dating partner, if there's a lot of differences between you, don't despair, don't give up hope. We're living proof that it can be overcome, and quite honestly, it works out sometimes to your advantage because when one is down, the other one can lift you up. So
That's right.
So that's a huge advantage when you both have the same strengths and the same weaknesses. Who's lifting the other person up in the weakness? You're
That's
both
right.
going down at the same time. So
Yep.
so differences aren't bad. You just have to learn how to work them. So whether you are having those conversations in a safe space, we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Look, you got to switch hats. You can't listen as a spouse or a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever. You have to listen as a friend.
Right.
So that you can understand where each other is coming from. Balance. I think balance is the key.
Finding that
So,
balance is the
yeah.
key. Yep. And don't let your thoughts, overtake you with,
Yes.
I'm superior and you're inferior, and that gets on my nerves.
When you think you're the
and-
right all the time, you're in the right.
Yeah. Don't have that attitude about yourself. And I'll tell you this, and then we'll finish this one up. Is that a lot of times when you do think that about yourself and you go to take it to God in prayer, don't be surprised if God reveals to you more about you than about your spouse, because God is going to fix you first,
Yep.
and then work on anything else that needs to be worked. But it's got to work. He's going to work on you. We've dealt with relationships, and people would come, and they would just name everything that's wrong about the other person. And sometimes they're coming because they want us to fix the other person.
Yep.
Tell this person that they're wrong or that they're not right. And it has happened, so many different times, not just once, so many different times. And when it boils down to it, nope, God wants to work on you.
Well, that's scriptural anyway, because the Bible talks about getting the beam out of your eye before you worried about the speck in somebody else's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And folks need to understand that, but it all works out for the good. It's just being able to get people to understand that and see, how that really works. And so we've got more to talk about, so we'll be able to explain so much more about a lot of the different things that we've been through and experienced, but for right now, what we would like for you to do is go ahead and like, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell so that when the next week comes and the next video is uploaded, you'll get notified that it's coming. And also don't forget all of the major all of the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts from. Please make sure you check those out because we're there too. Leave a comment, if you want to. Let us know if you have any questions or if any experiences that you have been through. You just go ahead and let us know.
Yeah, and you can check us out on Facebook at Covenant Therapy Marriage Ministry at Terrain Janine. You can check us out on Instagram. And then also, we're looking at creating a Facebook community because we really want to be interactive with you guys. So definitely check that out. And I really hope that this was helpful and informative.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you had a couple laughs with us, and it was just enjoyable spending time with us. But again, really hope that this is building something in you as we go over week. And so our goal is to rebuild, refine, and revive your marriage. And until next time, guys.
Wait. Do me a favor. Ask me a question. I'm gonna tell you that I want to do something. I just really want to do something. So ask me a question. Say what do we do?
What do we do, Torre?
We give the people what they want. Shout out to Jalen and Jacoby. Y'all don't know me, and that's cool. But I just wanted to do that. I just wanted to do that. Jalen Jacoby, ESPN. We see y'all next week.